All right, welcome to Undrafted Hockey Fan. Today we're doing a little bit of NHL news. So we're gonna be knocking out a couple of things with some Four Nation tournament. I'm just gonna go over a couple of signings as well. So it's gonna be some trade speculation, kind of what happened with the Rantanen and stuff. We did a full video on that. If you want to check that out before. Of course, the Pettersson and Miller talk. Of course, you can't go anywhere without talking about that. So again, we're going to hit a couple of these stories. Let's jump right into this. Make sure you hit like and subscribe if you're listening to Spotify, if you're listening through Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. Make sure you hit the star. It really helps out small creators like me. And let's get this thing going. So we have Alex Pietrangelo is withdrawing from the 2025 Four Nations face-off. So he's going to be playing with Canada, but he's going to skip. Mind you, this is a guy who's 35 years old, and he has not been playing nearly as well as he has been, right? This is a guy that he won the Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues, and has just not been performing like he has been in prior years. And that's kind of where I think the concern is that the talk is that he has an ailment right now. And so, mind you, he has an ailment, but it's not so bad that he can't play like now. Like he's still in the lineup. He's put up 25 points in 47 games, so had a half point per game player, which is a good, like, respectable for defenseman. But we saw that like the higher ups of what he can do. I mean, like I said, he's doing well, but I guess he's doing well, I guess. But I mean, I know the nice thing about him is that he's focused for the playoffs. Like, I guess that's, and I understand with Pietrangelo, if you want some of the guys are going to take this as a nice break, right? I think they're going to end up having like 10 days off. It's kind of where you're going to be at. And really, like, what does this tournament mean? I mean, it essentially means nothing. Like, it's like a showcase of like, it's kind of like a little bit of an Olympics type thing. You're replacing the All-Star game in this case, but it's to me, it's just not, it's not the huge tournament people think it's going to be. But it is something kind of cool, right? We're seeing best on best when it comes to the USA, Sweden, Canada, and Finland. So it is something there, right? But I think it's interesting that he's going to be focusing on, of course, the playoffs, right? And mind you, and this thing is, he doesn't really need the notoriety that he had with Canada in this tournament because he last played on the Canadian national team in 2016, the World Cup of Hockey. So like, he's got a lot of accolades in that sense, and so I don't think he really doesn't need this. So I understand why he's kind of stepping out of this. But again, I don't mind it. I actually think that he won't be the only one. A lot of people think that some people were like, "Oh my god, so many people are going to drop out. They know it's an option, right?" Like, and because it's an NHL sponsored event and everything, and some guys who like choose to opt out of the All-Star game. Ovechkin is one of them, right? He decided he didn't want to go to the All-Star game, so he got suspended for one game, and he did it by choice, right? He's like, "Oh well, that's fine. I'll sit out. I want to take the break anyway, so I'll sit out another game. No big deal." There is supposedly no drawbacks of him taking this, like, staying off the team, which I think is interesting. So we'll see. I mean, a little bit of cash grab for the NHL. I mean, I don't mind it. I kind of like these little in-season tournaments. It'll be cool to see Connor McDavid versus like Connor McDavid playing with like Sidney Crosby and McKinnon and everything. I personally think because of goaltending and the great defensive system that US is going to have, I think that US is going to take it. I'm biased. I mean, I'm an American. I understand I'm biased, but that's my opinion right now. So I can absolutely see US winning. But let me know down in the comments or tweet at me on Twitter and let me know who you think you got going. So who will end up taking his place? It looks like there's a lot of people that are talking about like Mackenzie Weegar is one of them. We're talking about like Drew Doughty is actually the front runner name. I like him. I like Noah Hanovan. I don't know if they do it. I mean, everyone's talking about like Bouchard or like Hamilton as well. And to me, the Four Nations don't really need they don't really need an offensive defenseman, right? That you have a guy like Makar playing on that power play. I mean, to me, I also think you probably need more the defensive defenseman, which is why, like, again, you're not going to go with a Dougie Hamilton or Bouchard, who just respectfully are phenomenal offensive defensemen. They're just not the defenseman, the defensive defenseman that you need, right? I was talking to my wife about this. She's like, "You're telling me there's defensemen that don't play defense?" I'm like, "Yes, absolutely. They're just very good offensive defensemen." That is one of the reasons I love Erik Karlsson. He's just all gas, no brakes. So, and so to me, I see Drew Doughty, mind you, he's been out all season. He has not played a game of the season. He had a broken bone. And so you can absolutely see him making his season debut a couple games prior to with the LA Kings, a couple games prior to the Four Nations face off. And I believe it's February 11th or February 10th. 11th, they have to have their rosters in February 10th. So he can, he'll go to the practice and everything and see if he's ready to go. Mind you, like he has a break. It's not the same as having like a snapped ACL where you have to restretch it out and everything. A break is a break. It sucks still. You do a little bit lose some muscle mass in that part of your body, but to me, you can absolutely get it back. And these guys are pro athletes. They'll build that muscle back, no problem. So I think Drew Doughty is definitely a lock in that one if he's capable of playing. If I was Drew Doughty, I would honestly. It might be a good way to kind of get, I would say you want to get Drew Doughty in game action as soon as possible. So I was kind of like, okay, well, he had all this time off. You kind of want to give him a break, let him slow roll it. But honestly, we see this happens with teams that, win around too quickly and they have too many days off. Let's say they sweep a team. We saw the Rangers sweep a team in the Capitals last year, Capitals versus New York Rangers, and they were a little slow roll. I thought they slow rolled into the Carolina series. But again, I think this is probably a good, hey, you're going to be versing like the best of the best, right? In this case. So you're doing like a Matthew Tkachuk, a Brady Tkachuk, a Dylan Larkin, right? Like you're seeing like these high-end like USA players and these high-end Swedish players. Like I think it's a good show up for Drew Doughty, and he can absolutely step up. Again, he's going to be able to perform really well because he's freaking Drew Doughty. I mean, come on, So I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. So move on to the next piece of information. So supposedly there is according to Elliot Friedman, there is an internal McKinnon cap at $12.6 million AEV that was in place for Rantanen discussions. But they will not. That effective for Rantanen. Mind you, they couldn't get the deal done. But that same cap implications is not going to be affecting when Makar needs a contract. And I heard today a pretty prominent insider, a guy that's really familiar with the game. He thinks that Mikhail Makar will be getting, maybe this would be crazy, $15 million a year when his contract's up, which is honestly, I wouldn't be surprised with the way that we're seeing the cap go up. I would not be surprised at that. Now, mind you, Nathan McKinnon signed this deal, I think it was 2 years ago. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, he signed this deal. He's in the second year of this deal, so he signed it a little over 2 years ago. Let's go. Actually, there's actually no date here. September 20th, 20. Oh, never mind. September 20th, 2022. So it's been almost 2.5 years since he's had that, dude. Like, so that structure of when he signed it, like there's a cap freeze and everything. So you're not getting the same. Like that's the same implications. By the time the car comes up, which is going to be in his contract up in 26, 27, I imagine they'll sign him, July 1st of 2026 is when he'd probably be eligible. So like that was something like you got to throw the bag at, because Mikhail Makar, in my opinion, is the best defenseman in the NHL. And so I would not be surprised for him to get 15 million. I mean, this guy he's just a monster. And he had, like, even when they won the playoffs, he had a monster playoff. Let's pull it up real quick just to show you. In 21-22, he in 20 games, he had 29 points, almost 1.5 points a game in the playoffs. This past playoffs, he had 15 points in 11 games. I mean, just a monster. He put up 90 points last year in the regular season. He's got 18 goals this season so far. Let's go. Let's see what kind of pace he's on. So he's got 18 goals divided by 51 games times 82. He's at a 20, almost round up a little bit. He's 28.9 goals. Let's call it 29 goals. He could honestly hit 30 goals for the first time since like Mike Green. I think maybe it was there. No, did Erik Karlsson do it? I don't think he did it, but Mikhail Makar is going to be getting that 15 million for sure. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's not surprising. Again, he's probably going to be, I wouldn't say captain, but I mean, he'll be the Steve Yzerman and Nicholas Jarvis, basically, right? Basically your second captain until McKinnon retires. But again, only because McKinnon's a little bit older. So Karlsson only had 25 goals in his 101 season with the San Jose Sharks, which is still mind blowing that he still hit that, which is just honestly, it's so crazy. I'm a huge fan of Erik Karlsson. I have his jersey for a reason. So, but I'm not gonna. I wear him to Red Wings game because that's I live in Detroit, and so when I wear Detroit fans get mad at me, of course. So understandably. So, another thing is that supposedly Avalanche top offer for Mikko Rantanen was believed to be 8 years at $11.75 million, and if the thought process was that one thing that the insiders were talking about is that, or Rantanen's agent said, is they believe, and mind you, it's an agent, right? So you have to take this with a grain of salt. Is that he said that Rantanen would be able to get on the free market in free agency $14 million a year for 7 years. So $14 million a year for 7 years is $98 million. 14 times 7 is $98 million. He's looking for a $98 million contract. And I believe he could have got it, right? As he was looking at Draisaitl's contract, he getting $14 million for 8 years. He's like, that's me. Like, I think I deserve that. I like something like that, right? But again, this is outside of the Colorado Avalanche, right? So you can only get 7 years if on the free market. So if you were to say, okay, well, Colorado has that advantage of being able to sign him for that 8th year. So if you take that $98 million divided by 8, that's $12.25 million a year. I think, in my opinion, that would have been the perfect spot to sign Rantanen. If they had offered him $11.75 million for 8 years, 12.25 is, I mean, it's $500,000 a year for 8 years. So it's an additional $4 million. I think that is absolutely, it's still under the McKinnon, right? You're still looking under McKinnon at 12.6. You're 12.25 for a guy who's respectfully done so much for your organization. He's played so well. And to me, I'd be really surprised if they weren't able to meet somewhere like that. And so, like, I'm going to pull up Rantanen right now, actually, because to me, if that was the small detail, I would be firing my agent. And Andy Scott. I mean, who is Andy Scott? Let's find out who he manages even. So, looking at some of the contracts, okay. I'm like, look at the contract. He literally signed the Leon Draisaitl deal. He's got like Chikrin, Harley, Patrick Laine, or again, Mikko Rantanen. He just signed Mackenzie Blackwood. Wyatt Johnston. Okay, so he's got a couple of decent guys, right? So the big ones are, of course, Leon Draisaitl as well. So, but again, like, to me, this is like, the difference between 11.75 and 12.25. That makes just so much sense. I honestly can't believe that he didn't get that done. Like, to me, and again, it's more so like this guy seems. It's a hard decision, right? You're looking at McFarland and Joe Sakic of the Colorado Avalanche. McFarland's GM, by the way. Everyone always forgets, but Sakic, they didn't want to lose McFarland, so they moved Sakic up to president, and they made McFarland the GM. So to me, that is. I think that's worth it, again, for a guy who's put up, 100 plus points, right? If we're looking at his stats right now, just from, let's see, 22-23, he had 100. I mean, this guy has been a point per game player every year, besides 1 year for 8 years. So 7 of the 8 years prior, he has been a point per game player. And the year that he missed the point per game, 6 of the 7. And the year that he missed it was 19-20 season, so the COVID season when it got shut down. And he had 41 points in 42 games. He's basically been a point per game player since his rookie year. So to me, and even then in his rookie year, he was a half point per game player. So to me, it doesn't make sense why you wouldn't sign him. This year, he's got 64 points in 49 games, putting up 1.3 goal points per game, dude. I mean, like, I don't know. Again, he's a moose. He's 6'4". Like, how do you let this guy go? And the thing is that Carolina has taken a huge risk because they honestly might not even be able to sign him. Like, I think they should absolutely just be like, yeah, we're gonna offer you this money now. Like, and it'll be even crazier. They could actually flip Rantanen right now, retain half his salary, dude, which would be nuts. And get like Mitch Marner or something like that. But again, that's something that is really interesting about that trade, and I'm just really curious on if. I mean, there's some bad blood now, but I wonder if there would be a way that Rantanen comes back in free agency. I mean, he's not going to get the $14 million still, right? Like, maybe he comes back and now you're going to get 11 years or 7 years at 11.75. Like, sorry, buddy. Like, you didn't want to work with, didn't want to work with us before. And I think there's probably a little bit of heartbreak, right? When it comes to this. So I'm curious on where I honestly, to me, it's less than a 50% chance that Rantanen resigns with the Canes. I think they're a pretty prominent organization in the sense that they're always in contention. They've won a playoff round every year for the last like 5 or 6 years. Like, so this is like clearly a team that like takes winning seriously. They went out and they made a big move last year for Gensel. They're not trading they didn't trade any of their top 4 draft picks or top 4 prospects, right? Didn't trade a first round pick either. And so you're looking at a team that's taking this job seriously of like, hey, let's go for it. Let's go all in. So let me know what your thoughts are on this as well. So I continue on with this trade, by the way, the little bit of Taylor Hall trade. Supposedly Taylor Hall's trade value was less than a 3rd round pick, and Chicago only got one because the Avalanche needed a broker for the Rantanen deal. So and so, dude, it was honestly it's crazy. Panthers were also reportedly interested in Hall before moved to Carolina, which would be that would be crazy if Hall doesn't work out in Carolina. If the Florida Panthers end up picking him up too, because that's something that Carolina did. But by doing this trade in January instead of around the deadline in March, you get an idea to figure out if this guy's a good fit in your team. If he's liking it here, right? Like if you don't like him, then you just flip him again, right? Which you absolutely could, right? Supposedly, again, his value was less than a 3rd round pick. And I listened to a little more context around the Chicago was doing and the trade value and everything. To me, it was a little like his value was less than a 3rd round pick. You were planning on retaining half of Taylor Hall, right? Which is about $3 million. You end up retaining half of Mikko Rantanen, which is 4.6, basically like $4.5 million, a little over $4.5 million. So it's more. And the way Chicago ended up doing is that they end up, because you're moving out $6 million of Taylor Hall and you're retaining the $4.5 million of Rantanen, they got a 3rd round pick and saved $1 million to $1.5 million. So you have a like cap that you're saving, which is fine, I guess. But again, Chicago has, they have a decent amount of cap. They have $4.5 million of cap space. Deadline cap space is going to have $8.5 million. So to me, they're going to definitely retain on that slot. They want to use all 3 of their slots, they only have one more slot remaining because they're retaining on Jacob McCabe and Mikko Rantanen. So they have one more slot they can do it for like a big contract. And I think it's also you're gonna bring in up a young guy, right? Like I think that would be, why wouldn't you just bring a young guy up instead to fill in your lineup for Taylor Hall? The bummer is that like Connor Bedard already looks so miserable on this team. By the way, Bertuzzi, are you the highest paid? Oh, Bertuzzi is the 2nd highest paid. It's Seth Jones. Bertuzzi's your highest. Connor Bedard was already pretty miserable on the Chicago team, who's not doing well at all. He's like Frank Nazar. He's playing on the top line. Look at you, buddy. Connor Bedard has 43 points in 49 games. He's doing all he can to like keep this team afloat. But mind you, he's 18 and a half. He's not even 19. Like, so he's in his 2nd year of this deal, right? And so yeah, he's 5'10", dude. He's already miserable. Now he really liked Taylor Hall. Now you trade his buddy out, and it's a really miserable time right now in the NHL for the Chicago Blackhawks. They need to do something to shake it up. Supposedly, that place is a train wreck right now. Supposedly, they're looking at buying out TJ Brody, who they signed to a 2-year deal at $3.75 million. Let's see. Actually, I'm curious. Let's go. Let's pretend we can buy it out. Okay. Because you can do that on Puckpedia. If you do that, because he has a total, you're saving about maybe $500,000. Like you're like not even saving that much money. You're saving money like this year, I guess. But is it worth it? You rather have the player, I feel like. It's more advantageous just to have the player. I know he's not like a point getter or anything. He's never been that kind of guy to get a point player, but he's been really stable with like the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Calgary. He played with the Calgary Flames for so long as well. And so, with Toronto, he put up 26 points in 78 games last year. Like, again, not a huge point getter, but again, he's really stable with Morgan Riley and everything. So, definitely slowed down. He's 34 years old. So I don't know, like it's kind of it's a bad way to go out basically. So, but his goals for percentage is basically like, oh, like is your line scoring goals or are they letting goals in? And if it's below 50%, then it means that you're letting in more goals than you're putting in the net. So that's rough, man. Again, he plays more of a defensive position anyways, but all right, we'll take a quick break. We'll hit up an ad real quick, and then we'll jump into some Pettersson news. Let's see what else we got on the docket. We got a sweet signing, a 31-year-old signed and played for the Red Wings. You have Capitals did a signing for Logan Thompson. I mean, we got a little e-bug and maybe a Brock Besser trade coming up. We'll see, but check back in just about a minute and a half. Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Now, again, if you're looking at a contender like maybe the Chiefs or the Bills, I mean, you could bet them to go all the way. Or if you're just a Chiefs hater, let's say, you can bet against them up until the Super Bowl, and it's so great. So make sure to get on the action at DraftKings. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boo Hill Casino Resort. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Nice. All right, let's jump into this. Hey, we got so supposedly there's some more momentum between Pettersson and the Canucks and Sabres. And so to me, okay, so there's an article that came out that the president of the Vancouver Canucks put out. It's Jim Rutherford, and he acknowledges that there's a rift, and it's kind of the chaos is a little bit crazy to me, because you got to consider that he's acknowledging, he's saying, hey, this is bad, this is not good. They're looking at trade for Pettersson. They're looking at trade for Miller. You know, he was looked at, like Carolina looked at the Pettersson trade. You know, they looked for JT Miller as well. Miller's looked about for the Rangers. Sabres are looking at Pettersson. I know Red Wings, you know, they touch base with them about Pettersson as well. And to me, you have a team that, like, if they end up trading all these guys, like, who is left, right? You leave Quinn Hughes alone, and honestly, to me, like, I didn't want to. I've been trying to avoid saying this. It's kind of how I've been feeling though. Like, does you trade Quinn Hughes then too? You trade your captain, right? So like, supposedly JT Miller and Brock Besser are like boys and everything. So that's why you haven't seen like a Brock Besser extension yet. But you're basically going to go back into a rebuild, right? So you have, let's see who you got. Okay, so you trade Elias Pettersson, you trade JT Miller. Well, then Brock Besser's gone too, because now you just traded his boy, right? So your top forward is Jake DeBrusk and Connor Garland and Danton Heinen. Like, maybe you get some roster player back in there, but like, you're focusing on futures at that point, right? You're trading those two big of guys. You're not going to get the equivalent value for that, right? You're going to like supposedly one of the trades for Miller was like Philip Cheadle, first round pick, and like a prospect, maybe like Brandon Ottman or something like that from the Rangers. So that's something for sure, but it doesn't put you in like a playoff spot. Quinn Hughes is like, well, you trade those guys. It was like, well, why keep Hughes right now? He's one of the best vets in the league, but like, you're basically going through like a rebuild or a retool. And then you sign Philip Peroni to that 8-year deal too. And so he has a no movement clause next year, right? So you're like, okay, if you sell Pettersson and Hughes, you should trade Hronek before his no movement clause kicks in, before he can't choose where he wants to go. And so and then Quinn Hughes has no trade at all. I mean, it's the Devils, right? Like, the Devils are going to take him on, right? Maybe I honestly, to me, what you do is you trade Dougie Hamilton for Quinn Hughes. I think that just makes no ton of sense because like you don't need the offensive defenseman. You're like Quinn Hughes and Luke Hughes is your PP1, PP2. By the way, that would suck for Luke Hughes to be Quinn Hughes' shadow the whole time. But again, I mean, Quinn Hughes he's not even a big dude either. I think he's 6 foot. He's 5'10", dude. He's the same height as me. Definitely a lot lighter. But to me, like, and then you have like Demko does not look like the Demko that you need. Like this is to me, Vancouver's looking a lot like a mid-lane team. But mind you, they still like great players down in their system. They have Jonathan Lekaramaki, I like him. Josh Bloom as well. Arship Deep Baines, like he's got like a lot of hype, right? Vasily Kravtsov, but they have his rights, but he's in Russia right now. I like those. I guess that's all I really like. Oh, you're Yuri Patera, but he's AHLer. I mean, like Kirill Kuruchasayev. I couldn't even say his name. He's a 7th round. No, it's not a 7th round pick, is he? Anyways, to me, I think you find a way to keep Pettersson. You move Besser and you move Miller. I think that is the best move. I think you have two guys that are very good. I think we've seen, by the way, and the reason you do that is Pettersson's older, right? Miller is older. So Miller is 31 years old. So like move off of him, right? That makes a ton of sense. Pettersson is 26. Quinn Hughes is 25. Philip Hronek is 25. Like you have Nils Hoglander as well. Like there's like guys here, Garland's 28. DeBrusk is 28. Like there's guys here that can perform, right? I just think you need to remove some of the toxicity potentially. I mean, and this takes nothing away from JT Miller is a gamer. He is a high intensity guy. He absolutely wants to like run the show. And I love that for him, right? He does perform, right? This is a guy who's put up, I think he's almost put up 100 points. I think he did that. Was it last year or 2 years ago? Very sure he did. Yeah, it was last year. He did 103 points. So, and again, and in 2 years prior to that, he had 99 points. So, like, this guy is an absolute gamer. But mind you, and he's got a good cap at $8 million. But we've seen Pettersson 2 years ago put up 102 points as well. So you know that he's absolutely capable as well. Definitely a down year this year. He was basically a point per game for the last 2 years. And then this year's 31 points in 43 games. I mean, again, if you're gonna trade Pettersson, if you're gonna trade someone, I think it should be Miller. I think you get a Cheadle first round pick and like a prospect from the Rangers. I think that'd be great. The Rangers are on their way up as well. Get them out of the conference. That's fine. Or you trade it, or you do a trade with man, dude. What if you're gonna do a rebuild, right? And you're gonna do New Jersey. What's a way you can get New Jersey could get Miller and Quinn Hughes? Oh, I mean, Hamilton's gone, Palat's gone. I mean, that would be a ton of fun. I think that'd be so much fun. So we'll see. I don't know if it'll happen like that, but again, I think that Vancouver's. I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess right now, and it's crazy that it's come to this already. So, I don't know. I don't know how they fix it either. Like, so, I mean, this in the Sabres, you can get a package of like Dylan Cousins, maybe, Alex Tuck, because you need you do it. Dylan Cousins, the main piece. You do a first round pick, and I mean, it's gonna be like that, and like maybe like Zach Benson as well. I mean, it'd be a lot. It'd be a lot of futures. So I think Dylan Cousins is very good. He's like Dylan Larkin light. I think he'd be absolutely a good piece. But Pettersson is very expensive, and I think that would be their superstar move though, because Pettersson is very, very, very good. Supposedly it says like Canucks also wanted Dylan Cousins and Bowen Byram in a package for Elias Pettersson, but would also like Owen Power. Yeah, I bet you would. Yeah, of course you want Owen Power and like Bowen Byram and like Dylan. Yeah, of course, dude. I mean, if I was the Vancouver Canucks, I wouldn't want Bowen Byram because Bowen Byram wants to be a number 1D on the team. And if you have Philip Hronek and Quinn Hughes on that team, then Bowen Byram's not going to do that again unless you trade Quinn Hughes. Just saying. And Owen Power, I think that would be a great steal. Get another first first overall pick. I think that'd be phenomenal. So supposedly, also the Senators are a team that are interested in Elias Pettersson. Again, if you're a team, all 32 teams, even Vancouver, should be interested in keeping Pettersson. Like everyone should be calling about Pettersson. And supposedly, Senators are looking to involve a package with Josh Norris. I mean, how is Josh Norris doing this year? I mean, because to me, like you're getting Pettersson at an undervalue. He's not playing the best right now, right? But he's so Josh Norris has 27 points in 48 games. Okay, cool. For a guy who's making $7.95 million. I mean, definitely an underperforming guy. The highest he's had it was 55 points in 66 games. I mean, I don't know why they want Josh Norris. He's 25 years old. Like, I think he's too expensive. Like, he's just not, to me, he's not worth it in this case. I don't know why they would do that. That does not make sense to me. And again, like I said, I let's see. Going on to a couple more news. This is a good one too. Brad Marchand and the Boston Bruins supposedly there's an uncertain future with them. And I think, in my opinion, I think Boston needs to. I think you do one last run with Marchand. You let him walk. You make Pasternak the captain, and then you're good, man. Like you're set, right? Or if you really want to, you package Marchand and dude, what if you send Marchand to he says he's a center. I don't think he's a center. He's not playing center, is he? So he plays the wing. No, they haven't. Buckpedia hasn't listed as a center. That's silly. Yeah, he's a winger, dude. He's not. Okay, so what if you traded Brad Marchand and Trent Frederick to the Colorado Avalanche? That's 2 UFAs, right? That's 6 point. Then you get Casey Middlestad. Oh, okay. So no, because they want a center back. They're not gonna do Lindholm. Elias Lindholm, they have Elias Lindholm on the third. No, that's not right. Do a Zaka trade maybe? Oh, dude, I don't know. The trade speculation is so much fun for me. I absolutely just love it. I'm obsessed with it. So, but this is all the news we're gonna do. I'm actually gonna do a second episode today. I'm gonna release 2 episodes today. This will be the news part 1. But yeah, so we'll have another news video. So let me know what your thoughts are on this. Hit like, subscribe, share it. Let me know what your let me know. Let me know what you're thinking on Twitter. I appreciate it. You can tweet at me at Undrafted Hockey Fan on Twitter, X, what you want to call it. I'm on BlueSky as well. And again, I just love you guys. So thanks for sticking around. Love you. Bye.